What if the BBQ sauce you've been loyal to for years is actually the worst one you could buy? Not just for your health, but for the food on your grill. We went through 8 store-bought sauces that show up in carts at every major grocery chain. And the brands that failed hardest weren't the cheap knockoffs. They were the ones with the big logos and the familiar labels you grab without thinking. Stick around, because what we found should change the way you shop. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 1 Great Value Original BBQ Sauce. The name alone should tell you something. It's not promising flavor, it's promising a low price, and that's the entire pitch. Pour it out and watch it run. It moves like watery ketchup, spreading thin and fast, which means when it hits your ribs or chicken, it slides right off. You're not coating your meat, you're rinsing it. Most of the flavor cooks off before you even flip it. Flip that bottle around and read the ingredients. High fructose corn syrup sits near the top, and the smoke flavor listed isn't from anything that ever touched a fire. It's artificial, flat, and one note from start to finish. That sharp vinegar base cuts through whatever you were trying to build, and there's nothing underneath to catch it. And don't let the low price fool you. Cheap doesn't mean value when the sauce can't do what sauce is supposed to do. You're not saving money, you're just buying less of nothing. Number 2. G. Hughes Smokehouse Original BBQ Sauce. This one sells itself as the smart choice. It's on every sugar-free shopping list, it shows up in diabetic meal plans, and people grab it feeling like they've finally found the guilt-free swap. But put it on a hot grill and watch what actually happens. It runs straight off the meat and into the flames because there's no body to it, no stickiness, nothing that builds up into a real glaze. You end up with chicken that tastes like it got brushed with diet soda, and that aftertaste is the real problem. Real sugar does something when it cooks. It caramelizes, thickens, and builds a crust on the outside of your meat. Sucralose doesn't do any of that. It burns off or evaporates and leaves a chemical sweetness on the back of your tongue that just sits there. Blind taste tests put this sauce at the bottom, and tasters didn't pick it for sugar-free bias. They picked it because it somehow tasted artificial and was far from enjoyable. Number 3. Jim and Nick's Original BBQ Sauce. People genuinely love this BBQ chain, and that reputation is real. So when you see the bottled sauce at the grocery store, you assume the jar carries the same weight as the restaurant. It doesn't. What you get is a sauce that can't pick a lane. It's not sweet enough to work as a southern sauce, not smoky enough for Kansas City, and not sharp enough to pass as Carolina vinegar style. It tries to split the difference between all three and ends up satisfying none of them. The texture doesn't help. It's too thick to use as a mop sauce or marinade, but too thin to actually cling to ribs or pulled pork. So it just parks on the surface of your meat and stays there. You taste the sauce and the food as 2 separate things instead of one. And you're paying a premium for this. What works slow-cooked in a pit over hours doesn't survive the jump to a grocery store shelf. Number 4. Primal Kitchen Classic BBQ Sauce Unsweetened. This is the brand for people who read every label, and when they put out a BBQ sauce with organic ingredients and no added sugar, it sounds like exactly what you've been waiting for. But take the sugar out of a BBQ sauce and don't replace it with something that acts like sugar, and the whole thing falls apart. It goes thin and sharp, heavy on vinegar and tomato, and that sourness just takes over because there's nothing to push back against it. You're not finishing your ribs with a sauce, you're splashing them with a marinade. BBQ sauce works because sweet and smoky and tangy pull against each other. Remove one and the others don't balance out. They just win. And you're paying a premium for this. The organic label costs real money, and when the sauce runs off your meat and tastes like it belongs in a salad dressing, that clean ingredient list doesn't feel like much of a trade. Number 5, 365 by Whole Foods Market Original. BBQ sauce. You're already in a Whole Foods, so you trust the store brand without even checking the label. That's exactly what they're counting on. And the sauce is fine. That's genuinely the whole review. It hits sweet, it hits smoky, and then it stops. There's no depth under those first notes, nothing that makes you want another bite. Just a flat approximation of what BBQ sauce is supposed to taste like. The texture runs middle of the road, which sounds harmless until you put it on a rack of ribs and watch it slide right off the edges instead of settling into the meat and building a glaze. You get a thin coat instead of something sticky and dark, and that's a completely different eating experience. And you're paying more for this than you would for a basic grocery store brand. The Whole Foods name is doing all the work that the sauce won't do. And that gap between price and performance is sitting in your fridge right now. Number 6, Happy Belly Original BBQ sauce. This is Amazon's store brand, and it slides into a lot of grocery carts because it's cheap, it ships with your regular order, and the name doesn't raise any flags. Nobody stops to read the label because nothing about it feels like a warning. But the sugar in this sauce is a real problem. The serving size on the label is smaller than what most people actually pour. So when you coat a plate of chicken the way a normal person does, you're likely doubling or tripling what the nutrition label shows you. And all that sugar doesn't even taste good. There's no molasses depth, no brown sugar warmth, just a sharp, flat sweetness that hits fast and disappears. The smoke and vinegar barely register under it. Texture is thin, so it runs off your food on the grill and burns before it can build any kind of crust. You paid for sauce and got flavored water with a deceptive label on the front. Number 7, Kraft Original BBQ sauce. This is the sauce that's lived in your fridge your whole life. The one your dad slapped on burgers without a second thought. The one you still grab on autopilot because grabbing it 100 times feels like a good enough reason. But flip that bottle around and read what's actually in it. Artificial smoke flavoring, not smoked peppers, not smoked paprika, just a chemical added to fake the taste of something that never went near a fire. High fructose corn syrup as the main sweetener. And the sodium adds up fast when you use it the way most people do, which is generously. That fake smoke flavor never changes as it cooks. Real smoke deepens and shifts as heat works on it. Kraft's version delivers the same flat note from the first bite to the last. Texture sits in the middle so it won't build a glaze. The sauce stays on top of your meat instead of working into it, and you taste them as two separate things. Number 8, Stubbs Smoky Mesquite BBQ sauce. This one hurts the most because the brand actually earned its reputation. A real Texas pitmaster, a real restaurant, a real following built over decades. People grab this off the shelf because they trust what the name used to mean. But mesquite smoke is the most aggressive wood smoke there is, and this sauce does nothing to tame it. No sweetness underneath, no tang to give it any shape, just a wall of smoke that hits immediately and doesn't let up. Everything you put it on tastes like the inside of a chimney. And the texture runs watery so that smoke flavor coats unevenly and scorches fast on a hot grill. You end up with bitter spots where the thin sauce burned before it could do anything useful. Stack high sodium on top of that, and the sauce doesn't complement your food anymore. It just buries it. The pitmaster's story was real. What's in this bottle doesn't carry it forward. 8 sauces, 8 different failures. Too thin, too sweet, too smoky, too artificial, or just completely flat. And every single one leaned on its label harder than its flavor because brand names and health claims and restaurant reputations sell bottles whether the sauce inside works or not. Go check your fridge right now. If one of these is in there, you know what you're actually working with.